This is a good finisher for me. My chest is always sore afterwards. It's a ridiculous range that not many people use to. Try this chest finisher. So we've got bumper plates. Basically, it's going to restrict my range so I don't stretch out too deep. I've got this decline bench. I do this on a decline setting. If you were to use 2 bumper plates, you might be able to do it on a flat setting. Ooh. So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to fly out wide. So I do this with my good mornings too. Basically, it's going to allow me to extend to a crazy range that my body's not used to. So it's going to restrict my range. It's going to stop the head of my humerus from detaching from my AC joint. And I've calculated this to the centimetre. This is a good finisher for me. My chest is always sore afterwards. It's a ridiculous range that not many people use to. Because generally when I see people doing that stretch, their arms are bent. They're not at full stretch, so their pecs, it's not fully stretched out. So they're getting stimulus on like 80% of the muscle, but there's that 20% that doesn't really get work that this range can work. Always important to stretch the last rep because that's going to create the most stimulus. That's going to be the most hypertrophic. So then I bring the dumbbells right here, just stretch out and finish. So I've got the bumpers there to restrict my range. If I was to do it and the bumpers weren't there, I would potentially tear a pec. But what else can happen? So you've got your AC joint, my humerus is here. My humerus gets to a certain point. Now, I know my body pretty well. It's not going to dislocate if it sort of misplaces, like a little sublux or something like that. It'll be just an annoying injury. It's going to restrict my training for at least 2 weeks, and I can't have that. Now, in regards to why you would do it with that as opposed to normal flies, so basically normal flies, this is what I see, like that, yeah? Now, hold the weight here versus locking out your arm. Obviously, your bicep tendons get involved, but your chest has to work so much harder here as opposed to in here. So basically, this is like a reverse fly. It's a fly. So deadlock arm, it's like doing a reverse fly versus a regular lat pull down. So yeah, people say, what's the difference between that and a regular fly? Man, if you just lock out your arm, your chest has to work so much harder. It just becomes a more difficult exercise, and it gets those more sort of intricate muscles, like the stability muscles that surround the scapula. It sort of has to switch them on a lot more. It's like, you know, why do people do reverse flies? Why don't people just do rowing and then that's it? Well, yes, it does hit the rear deltoid, but if you want to really enforce the muscles around that posterior deltoid, around the back head of the humerus, around the AC joint, you must reverse fly. So if you want a nice, full, big chest, but you're only going to here every single time, you're missing out on, I'm not going to say it's much, but like potentially you might be 10 to 20% more stimulated doing a couple of sets going out wide, especially if it's, you know, a range you don't usually work in. I pride myself with my training, you know, I'm not the most genetically gifted guy. I try everything, I put the work in, and I try and be strong from all angles. That's how you get stronger. If you're just good at one thing, then you try something, you're just good at squatting close, you try squatting wide, probably not going to end well. But you do a little bit of everything gets stronger and your lifts go up. So if you always close squat, there's going to be a little bit of imbalance, you know, like potentially your glutes, but I'd be more worried about your adductors. If your adductors aren't used to squatting big weight in a wide stance and you all of a sudden put 200 kilos on them, that's a very high risk for an injury. You might get through unscathed. You might have super strong muscles, and you might have super strong adductors as is, and you might get through it. But if you do get injured, you know, what do you do to counter that? You squat wide, you isolate the adductors. So if your pec's causing you trouble, if it's not full enough, stretch it at the widest angle possible. Squeeze up. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it's hard, but nothing good comes to those who train easy and moderately every workout. I'm not saying you have to go balls to wall every workout, but going balls to wall like once or twice a week is probably going to be good for most people. A lot of people think, oh, I'm overtraining, I need to recover. But in reality, you know, if you're doing over 100 sets a week, potentially you're overtraining. But if you're not making it to the 100 sets, you're not overtraining.